Wiggins. Joe Wiggins is All Play. Pretty much is All Play.
Sure.
Yeah. So All Play publishes a wide variety of really great games. Does a bunch of playmats as well. So go check them out. Beneeta Kaur is the best Twitch streamer out there right now in the board game space. You can definitely check her out. She's a fantastic streamer. Definitely go check out her stream. We've got Erica. She is a phenomenal designer. Has recently broken into the mass market. So if you go to literally any big box store, you will find things that Erica's working on. And then Sen, I have to kind of take a little point of like.
Anger, okay.
Great. Sen actually, fun fact, kind of got me into the industry. Literally did a fun little tour of little small Ian, like what, 10 years ago? Yeah, a little bit ago. And basically helped me to get into the industry. So I really appreciate Sen. He's a fantastic designer, has Belfort all over the place, and it's just fantastic. So the way this is going to work is every designer is going to have 5 minutes maximum to pitch to the panel, at which point the panel will then provide feedback on the pitch based on their expertise. And they will have hopefully around 10 minutes, and then we'll be able to move through that. So we have 5 minutes on the clock. Ben here has a clash of the genres. It's a pretty neat game, and I'm going to let him take it away.
Thank you, stranger. Welcome, esteemed judges. My name is Ben. This is my baby, Clash of the Genres, a 2 to 4 player battle arena game in which you fight to score the high score and become the champion of the clash. It combines board tile placement with a bit of card combat. And when I was designing it, I wanted something that had kind of a little bit of the card combat, but with a bit of a board presence to it as well. So what exactly are we looking at here? Basically, it's 100 unique cards, which all do different things. You spawn on the board on one of these little red spaces here, and then you take your turn. When you take your turn, you have these cards. You have 5 cards in your hand, and you can do several different actions. You can play an action card, which is very straightforward. Do this thing, resolve it, and you're done. Very straightforward. You get 2 actions on your turn. You can play that as an action. You may also summon a helpful friend, such as the Hungry Plant. Feed me, Seymour! He comes out, and he helps you on your turn. He basically gets an extra turn after you, and attacks as well. You can equip yourself with helpful gear, such as the body armor. I hear Tony Stark is fond of that. It stays on your person, and you may have up to 2 equipment at any time. You can change up the board space with a zone card. The zone cards are a personal favorite of mine, very tricky. You can place a zone token once you have placed a zone for an action anywhere you wish on the arena space. This becomes an area which now affects anyone on that zone. For instance, the security system, anyone moving through there becomes very much like that security guy in Resident Evil where he gets chopped into little bits. So each space of movement, you would essentially take the damage. And those zones remain on the field at all times, and they can affect everyone. Other things you can do, you can move about the board in this space. There is a middle space, which is the one area of interest on the board. If you occupy that space at the start of your turn, you immediately score a point. You draw from the pile of cards here, and you heal yourself up to 1 health point. You can eliminate each player. Each player's elimination is worth 2 points. Generally, a normal game is 6 to 10 victory points to win. So a player elimination is worth 2 points. An ally is worth 1 elimination point. And then once you return, your turn comes back up. You can respawn and draw a new hand of cards and get your revenge, basically. One of my personal favorites. And the walls are closing in. You add a wall space. So a little Indiana Jones. Or You can be crushed by a wall. It's not. I would not recommend it. And that is one of the events that can happen on the end of a round, basically. Then you continue your actions until someone has reached the high score. I have designed this for mostly a free-for-all, but there is a co-op mode as well as a 1v1 mode. That's more or less the ballpark pitch. It is my love letter to popular media. Lots of references. Again, they're all unique cards. It's all been done by some very good friends of mine that I have commissioned. And I hope to publish this myself. Thank you very much.
I don't think it's on. Is this thing on? Is there?
I don't know that it needs to be on for me.
No.
I'm Joe. I own a publishing company. I think that the enthusiasm for the pitch was really good. But a couple of notes that I wanted to make really quickly. The first one is that you spent a lot of time going through mechanical things about the game and mechanical things that can happen in the game. And the thing that I missed and didn't really hear much about is like, what is the theme of the game? Like thematically, who am I in this game? Why am I fighting in this combat? Why do I want to win this combat arena, right? Like I didn't really get a sense from you on thematically integrating the game, which for a game like this, I think is really important. And then there's a second point of feedback that I wanted to give you, and maybe not give you, but like a question is, this is a game that exists in an already very overcrowded genre. And as a publisher, this is something that I care about. There's a lot of classics like Duel of Ages and Wiz War, and a lot of like new heavy hitters like Unmatched and Black Rose Wars that do this exact type of thing. They all do it differently, but they all do this arena combat game. So I want to know, in your opinion, as succinctly as possible, if I already own 2 or 3 games that already do a very similar thing, why does yours stand head and shoulders? Why should it replace one of those? Or what is it doing better than those that those are not doing?
It is the spirit of randomosity and chaos. There is no deck building. Everyone gets a shared chance at drawing from the deck. I think the flavor of it is, again, my general love letter towards popular media, the genres, the entertainment industry, everything that's inspired me in my career of graphic design and game design has come from the entertainment, the genres. So it's a little personal in that regard. I would say, appealing-wise, it's a lot less complex. I've gotten a lot of families and like party settings to play it. It's a bit more arcadey than some of the more heavier gameplay. I would say light to medium on this one. So I think it appeals to more of a more casual crowd, or say someone that like, well, I don't really like these combat games, but I want to play a fun like party night. This is a bit more, I would say, approachable for a more casual crowd.
Okay.
So I love the puns. I love the cultural references. Oh, thank you. I love the puns and I love the cultural references. I don't really like get the flavor. I like the art and I think it has mass market appeal, but I'm not really getting like the flavor of the puns and the cultural references from the art necessarily. And then I feel like maybe like having like 100 unique cards to learn, and the fact that like you're saying it's like, you know, all chaos, and like, so what is like the strategy of the game?
The strategy is build as you go. It's I don't know what I'm going to draw. I mean, obviously, the more times you play it, it's going to be the same cards that you played last game, but just in a different order. So I guess first time play would be a little bit the first playthrough.
Sure, I just feel like our market is that there's 5,000 board games a year. Like people are playing games 2 to 3 times unless they really love it.
Right.
So I'm worried that like their first play is like you don't know what you're doing, kind of, because all the cards are so unique.
I'll project. I don't know if that's actually on. I'll be honest. You didn't get any. You didn't seem like you got much louder. So if you're saying this is a little bit lighter, and I'm going to go more from like a UX player is learning strategy, there's no if how I'm not sure if this was the same person or a few different people.
About 20 artists.
So I can kind of tell that this art doesn't all match. So what I would want to see is something that brings that friendliness through, a consistency through it that really plays up these genres. Like, you know what I mean? Like even lean into the art styles maybe a bit more if you're gonna have this variety. It's a bit too much of a clash literally. Because I think you have the right elements. If you figure out if this is a lighter audience, you have to make it for that audience. And yeah, there's other little things, but I think that's good for now.
So, what's the actual hook?
You and your buddies are looking for a fast and frenzied battle game to play, and this is something that no one's seen before.
Okay, I mean, we probably literally have seen this type of game before. I think there's some neat stuff in here. I do like the moving parts on the board. I like that you're representing things like the zones and the areas of effect. It feels very tactical, and I think that's neat. I don't necessarily know if that's very friendly in terms of accessibility and approachability. Erica was actually mentioning something that you forgot to mention. Like one thing she really wanted was like templates to like lay over to see where the firing goes, which might be helpful for more novice players. I also wondered about these objection cards because
I missed them.
Okay, well, can you tell me about them now?
Of course. So they are essentially during a turn, a response. And it's a timing-based thing, so the objection cards are played in response to other players, whereas combo cards are something you add on to your own cards.
Okay, and then there's scoring with the objections, right? So what's an objection assist?
So so I have the props card, which says add 2 damage to another player's attack. I cannot use that on my own attacks, but if I assist someone in taking another player out or another ally out, I score a point for that as well.
Okay, so that's actually really cool. That's a neat thing. I wish I knew that before, because that does make something a little bit different in the. You're not really cooperating, but you're also gaining points from being helpful when somebody else is.
You can steal the win out from someone that way.
Yeah, that's actually
That's
pretty
interesting.
Cool. Cool. I think the idea about like the clash of genres and the art styles being quite different. Is there like a thread in any of the art in terms of, you know, is the superhero art all done by the same person? Is the fantasy art all done by the same person?
No. Again, so how I like to say it is the names came first,
Right.
and then the design for those names came secondary, and just kind of depending on when I was working in development with certain artists, that's how it kind of came to be. But again, we've been more or less looking back and forth to try to fit a specific vibe for, say, a science fiction genre or a horror genre. The art has to reflect that.
Sure, and then it needs to be a thriller. Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. We're just going to move the whole table over. Okay. Can you help us?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday afternoon, Saturday morning and afternoon, and Sunday afternoon.
This table up here.
Thank you. If I may, I just have a question about looking at so did it not
So you see the marks?
I don't think what it needs to do is, for example, the prospect thing, you've got 5 to 10 kind of thing. I almost want to see how each one had its own particular style if you're going to do that.
size versus this one in the same art style.
Yeah.
Just to double check. It was specific.
So you just try this, is it inclusive?
I thought they were all the same, right? And like I'm not an expert like them, so I like did not say this thing.
Yeah. And now I'm just
like wrap up for that, so they don't use that.
You said that they all look like the same style.
No, I think she said that she can tell that there's some differences in the
Yeah.
Oh,
and we're
art
saying
style.
No, I said across the all the cards kind of similar to her, so then you can't see it.
Okay, so I have.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
I'm using. Oh.
I think it depends on what you want, right? So if you're really working on even these colors, show the genre. If you're trying to blend that, you don't want the vibe to stay.
Yeah, actually, this is really
You
good.
can go that way too. It really depends on what you want to do. Like,
Yeah, I do want to do. I
Could you be our favorite? Like, that's awesome. I love it. So, I think here's a so you'll see that water election. Yeah.
I want to know the name of that timer.
Right? I was just like, holy shit, the water timer. So, see that timer? That's how much time you have.
Oh, can you? Oh, it's already sitting down?
No.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. So,
Can you show it to me when there's like 30 seconds left so I'm not watching it the entire time?
yeah, can you just wait till 30 seconds?
Can you show it to me when there's like 30 seconds left so I'm not watching it the whole time?
All right. We have the next, we have Frank here. We've got Dinorama. And whenever you're ready, Frank, we can hit the ground running.
Sure. Hello, sharks. I created Pluto Dinorama with my almost wife Jessie, who's down there. Thank you. It depends on how this goes. Nope. Just kidding. Welcome to the world of Pluto Dinorama, the comedic, strategic, diner building, extraterrestrial card game of your dreams. Let me be the first to congratulate you as players on owning and operating your very own diners on Pluto. As you may or may not know, the decorous intergalactic network of entrepreneurial restaurateurs is giving out the honor of Best Diner on Pluto this year for the first time, and you are competing for that honor. But there's a catch. There's also a rival diner, a mega ultra corporate diner who has settled on Pluto and is also looking to win the award. So one of you could win the award, or none of you could win the award, with the rival diner winning it all. The game's pretty simple. You have a food value, you have an ambiance value, and those values accumulate over time by playing cards like egg and coffee, which start, those each worth 1 food each, or kitchen and counter seat, or even graviton beam and kittens. And these are cards that you get higher ambiance values, you get higher food values, and you use those values to attract customers worth stars. And the diner with the most stars at the end of the game is the #1 best diner on Pluto. The game ends when one diner seats 10 customers, and that can be one of the playing diners or the rival diner. The order of operations is pretty simple in the game. They're played in days where customers line up. Since this is a 4-player game setup we have here, it's 12 customers. It's 3 times the amount of people playing. And on your turn, you get 2 actions to play cards. Celebrity photo could be a card you play, or beer could be a card that you play. And then you have the opportunity to seat the first customer in line. Now, the customers get pretty expensive. So Sonia D, for instance, is worth 7 food and 3 ambiance. So you have to meet that value in order to seat Sonia. But we don't have that value. So the line moves on, and Sonia becomes hangry. That happens throughout the line, and then it comes back around, and if you can't seat a hangry customer, that customer goes to the rival diner. And that is how the rival diner gets customers, and it happens pretty fast. And so if you're not working together before you're competing, you are going to lose to the rival diner, unfortunately. So you have to come together as an independent business community to seat your customers before the rival diner does. The other kinds of cards there are staff cards, or employees. Employees come with a range of abilities. Some of my favorites are employees like Little Tiny Lucy. She's a host. Hosts give you an extra action to move the line around however you want. There are also employees who let you dispose of a staff worker at another diner, or dispose of a customer at another diner, things of that sort. And there are employees like Deb and Tiff who are travel agents who let you exchange customers between your diner and other diners. Of course, there are also defensive employees too, janitors and people like someone who I don't have out, but Saboteur is another one. Big Louis Fatouche is also a waiter. Waiter is another type of customer that you have. If you accumulate waiters, you get more actions. That's pretty sweet. As the game goes on, events come into play at the end of a day. Once everyone is seated, the day is over, and you draw an event. Events are like little Mario Party mini games. So here's an example of an event, a campaign slogan. One of your customers has decided to run for president of Pluto. All they need now is a campaign slogan. Choose which of your customers is running, then come up with their slogan. Vote on who has the best slogan. And so these little party mini games allow the game to be more accessible by bringing in players who may not have a strategic background but want to participate in game night. And if you win an event, you get stars. 2 stars per win of an event. And I think that's my time, so I'll open it up for questions.
Hey there. So thanks for showing us this. So you have like a couple things that are competing against each other in terms of first we have to beat the megacore and then we have to compete against each other, right? That's one thing that's kind of a little bit maybe difficult for some people to grok, but I think it's a neat idea because the little guy needs to win. I get that. What about the idea here where you have a party game element plus strategy? Do you find that is something that strategy players will sit through the party elements, or will the people who are only good at the party elements, do they feel bad about not being able to participate well in the strategic elements? How's it panned out for you?
We don't view them as separate elements. We think that the party elements of the game come with strategic bonuses. The events aren't just stars, they also come with special rewards. So for instance, the rewards, the campaign slogan event is the winning customer gains +5 stars. There's incentive to do well at the party game, and the party game elements don't just become party game elements, they become a legitimate strategy to win the game. And so you have a strategy player playing their strategy game that they want to play, but you can also have a party player who's playing their party game that they want to play. And they're not, they can happen at the same time.
Okay.
Okay, so you told me I'm on Pluto. I want to be on Pluto. So what I'd like out of this a bit more, I'm going to talk just more from the idea of maybe a bit more market appeal, right? Because you're kind of, as you said, you want to walk a line, you want to be attracting essentially almost like 2 types of audiences with this. The first thing I thought when you started putting out things saying this is how I'm essentially decorating, right, my restaurant, I already was like, I want to see this tableau. I want to see the thing that I've now built that says to me, it's a restaurant, but also it has these fun elements that I keep hearing through what you're saying, and I'm hearing them and I'm liking them. I don't see any of them. I know you don't necessarily have to be there right now. This is where I'd like to see it go. So a big part of it is I kept thinking, like, paint me a picture of how I'm on Pluto. I'm hearing elements of how it can be fun, space themed. I'm seeing some of the characters here. I almost want to feel it more from what's coming through here, that right now I don't know why this has to be in space other than it sounds fun. So just make it in space.
Definitely, yeah. We have, I think there's 3 parts of the game that really make it special. One is this collaborative part. The other is the party player and strategy part. And the third is that voice, where you're creating something wild and crazy, and that is also part of the function of the events, where the events aren't just, play rock, paper, scissors, or come up with a campaign slogan. That is part of the events. But another part of the events is write a poem about your diner, where the specific people in your diner are the characters in the poem. There's a lot of humans out right now, but most of the deck is aliens, and I think that customer base is what gives the game the flavor, the approachability, and the silliness that makes it what it is.
So I'll add a little bit then, because what I'd like then is a lot of those little games, I would want to make sure that they are restaurant specific and have opportunities to use them. So if I just wrote a new slogan for my restaurant, make me put the slogan out. And now that is what everybody reads when they're like, you're kind of building an experience, but it seems like it's very here when it should be on the table. And I'd really like it to be on the table.
Oh, yeah.
So I love the theme. I want there to be more food games, and I love that you're on Pluto. But to kind of like echo off what Erica said, I'm not really feeling the theme and like what you've said so far. I do really like the small like variable player powers. I love that in games. How do you get those powers?
These powers, they're in your supply hand with your food and your ambiance. There's one supply deck, and you play them just like you would
Do you
play.
just get one per game?
You get to play the employee, and then they get to use their action once per day, and the day is when everyone's seated.
So do you just get one like player power like throughout the game or per round?
Oh no! However many employees you have is however many
Okay.
player powers you have.
And how are you exactly paying for the customers that you want to come to your table?
It's a prerequisite, so
Okay.
it's not like you're spending your food and you're spending your
Where is that
ambiance.
prerequisite coming from?
It's from the food menus that you're adding to your menu and the ambiance that you're adding to your diner. So
Okay,
like,
so they're gonna stay there, and you're like, if you have this, then you can bring it over.
absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you trying to self-publish or sign this?
Great question. Right now we're doing self-publish because our background is as two artists who people have said no to a lot, and the idea that nobody could say no to us self-publishing is nice, but we're open to anything, and we are just looking for a good place for the game to be.
Sure. It is not hard to get people to play a game. It is hard to get people to buy a game. Okay, this is a very difficult thing. Games are products. With this game, and again, this is a situation where I want to be very specific about what you want, and so you can take what I'm about to say how you want to, right? If you're like, hey, you know what, my game wants to do this, that's totally fine. You have a kind of a take that card drafty, kind of like, let me build up my thing, and then you're like, let's all play a silly mini game in between. Like, let's write a poem, let's do this. But we're already incentivized against each other in the game. Like, the game is saying, I want to beat you, but I also have to vote for somebody to win this thing. And that feels like a very difficult thing as a player for me to feel like coming out of this competitive experience where there's like some semi-co-op about like, okay, I can't take care of this guy, somebody needs to or whatever. I get that, but like we're still competing against each other. I'm trying to have a better diner than the other player, but then I have to be like, oh, great poem, right? I feel like that's like at a direct opposite of what people's experience are gonna be for this game. And I would say as a product, I feel if you want this to be marketable, if you want this to go somewhere, you need to decide which game it wants to be and lean as heavily into that as you want. If you want it to be a silly party game, this card play, I think you can do that, but you need to strip the strategy out. I think if you want this to be a strategy game where you're like having fun and like drafting cards and trying to attract customers, and there's this like co-op competitive element, lean into that and strip out the party element. Because I personally believe that the game is going to be very hard because I can't think of a single game in the market right now, not because, oh, no one's thought of this before, but because products like that have not been able to succeed.
Yeah, it's definitely a two-edged sword because that is something that we've come across in playtesting a bunch, is that the voting is divisive. One thing that we do like about the voting is that with party game players who might seem like they're losing get voted for. and it actually brings up the bottom of the game competitively. And so players tend to reach the end of the game and be at a similar point total. There's not a lot of blowouts in this game.
I think you come up with a different catch-up mechanic.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Frank.
We have tomorrow night, 7 to 9, and then Saturday afternoon, 12 to 2.
If that's
There we go.
Thank you so much. It was very helpful.
All right.
Cam, how are we looking at top down? You're good. Thank you very much. Again,
Whisker.
yeah, no, excellent. That's excellent. Really good. She can do yeah. Woo! Oh no.
That's good.
Oh my gosh. Paper towels? Oh no.
Let's stand next to each other first. It's out.
Anyway,
Yeah, I think when my kids
Pitch first, we'll say, so 20 years.
yeah, or if you ever read my You've never read any of them?
We're all good?
It's fine, I just.
All right. So, again, thank you, Frank, for a great pitch. We got Logan and Michael for the next one with Glasshouse Games. They've got a neat little game to pitch. Take it away, fellas.
What's up, y'all? I'm Mike.
I'm Logan.
We're Glasshouse Games.
So, Whisker Wars is a whimsically serious strategy light card game. It is designed to invite players to participate in this animal kingdom and act as tacticians as they fight for the banner, deploy honey animal units, and try to be the last army with morale at the end of the game.
The twist. It may seem like just any other card battler, anthropomorphic, animal-based type game. Our little spin on it is we've created a countdown resolution system that sort of eliminates turns from the game. And what I mean by that is that each battle, which is essentially each round, players will resolve their cards from the number 20 to 1 that's listed on the card, meaning every single battle will have a unique sort of turn element that will constantly ping pong around the table.
Yeah, the goal is to keep all players engaged while also opening it up to more beginner audiences of strategy card games. A lot of the games we've had experience with on the market can come in a little heavy, and this aims to be a lighter, more spirited version of that. So just to demonstrate a quick round.
So the game is made up of 4 phases. First phase is the deploy phase. You will take 3 cards from your hand, and you will place them face down on the table. Once all cards have been played, we will flip the cards over to resolve the cards. The trick there is that you have no idea what anyone else is going to play. So you have no idea when your cards will actually truly resolve around the table. Now that all the cards are flipped over, you will look at the cards, and from the highest number to the lowest number, you will resolve them in order.
So beginning, I have the highest card at 20, so I get to act first, resolving my Mousenary, which allows me to deploy 2 more Mousenaries from my hand. The Mousenary is lovely because strength in numbers. The more Mousenaries you have on the field, the more damage each of them does. So these will deal 3 damage each to my opponent.
Damage.
Once resolved, the cards flip over. Now, looking at the board, I continue to have the next one, so the turn stays with me at 18. My Chipmunk goes into play, which causes target opponent to lose 2 morale or 4 morale if I control the banner. In response to a unit resolving that I control, I can also deploy a reinforcement card from my hand. I will choose the Wizard Lizard. The Wizard Lizard acts as a stun, forcing Mike's Porcupine Pikeman to lose its ability that turn, although it can still block.
Yep. So next will be my Squirrel as a 16. I will gain 1 morale, and then I can play 1 slower unit from my hand, and I will play my Ballista, which will let me remove 1 target unit from the board, which means I'm going to take out his Berserker. My Porcupikeman will not get to resolve since it got Wizard Lizarded, so I will flip that over, meaning I will then get to play my Chimpanzee Siege Tower, which deals 1 damage for every face-down card in battle, which right now would be 7. So then I would deal 7 damage to him. What's unique about this, depending on the cards you play, is going to be a sort of random battle every single time with cards that will resolve in a random order each time. So we're hoping for a very unique battle experience every single time. We did some crunchy math with it, and it has a very high exponential of random variables for every battle. Don't remember the number off the top of my head. However, we hope that it will provide a very unique experience every game.
I have quite a bit to get through, so I'm going to go fast. First of all, great pitch. You led off with the game. You told me what's unique about it, what's different about it. You answered a lot of the questions I would have asked in your pitch. That's phenomenal. Second off, who out here makes sell sheets for their games? Okay, go get this sell sheet and study it, because this is a great sell sheet. As many of you have approached me at my booth and been like, can I show you a game? Many of you know what is the first thing I say. Give me your sell sheet, right? I want a sell sheet to put in my hands at the very beginning of every pitch meeting, and this is a damn good sell sheet. So, good job. Third thing, art, fantastic. I don't know who has done this art or whatever, but the art is really, really good. You're highlighting it very, very well on the sell sheet as well. So I wanted to commend you on that. Last thing, and here's a point of criticism. This is a kind of like card combat game, right? People that play these kinds of games really want like a story and they want lore. And right now, you're relying very heavily on puns for everything.
Yes.
And I think it's cute, but you really should think about the story and the world that you're building in, because if this game is successful, you're going to want to do more with it. And if you haven't thought about that or established that, it A, will only help your game in the initial process, but B, be able to help your game in longevity, because people that play this kind of game care about that kind of stuff. So definitely think about adding more lore and story to the game. Yep. Why is all of this happening?
Yeah, we do have lore. Wasn't sure if to include it in a pitch or not. Do you think it would be beneficial to have that in, say we only have a 5-minute pitch?
Should we add like 30 seconds to the front to kind of give a little background?
Tell me the word.
Heck yeah, cool. Right on.
Give me 30 seconds.
Or how
of the
can it come through on some of these,
Totally.
right? So you're not
True.
having to think about, I can only find it here. Like you can put it in places.
Perfect.
Yeah, there's no flavor text on these cards, so like, where is the lore coming from? Is it only coming from the rule book?
Sure.
Like, I love the art. Like, it's so cute. Playing the cards from high to low is really interesting, but I'm a little concerned of like where the strategy is coming from. Because if you're just playing every game is just like playing the higher, like 20 to like 1, like, isn't the game, it kind of feels like the game is playing itself a little bit. And so like, what decisions am I making? And maybe I'm not the market for it, but I'm wondering like, how can I like impact the gameplay?
Yeah.
Down that way. We call it a strategy light. We called it strategy at the beginning. Got some criticism back because everyone's playing from the same deck. You can't really strategize if everyone's got randomness to the game. So what we think the strategy that is involved in the game is you can play those reinforcement cards at any time when your cards play. You also have no control over, there's sort of the gamble of what everyone will play at the beginning of the round. So you're sort of reacting to whatever anyone else is playing.
So you get to choose the first 3 cards that you play?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
You play
I
from a
missed
hand
that
of
part.
7.
Yeah.
And then you draw back up at the end of the round.
Okay, so I was really hoping you're going to show me or tell me a bit more how you track morale.
Yes.
We don't have a prototype built for it yet. We use like a life tap counter on our phone.
There will be a life counter.
Okay, because I think that's something like when I'm seeing this, you have this a really, really strong art style. Like I instantly looked at it, I said to Sen, I'm like, oh, it's Red Bull.
Yeah.
right?
You
And
get
so I
that.
think that's also where you want the story to come through, because I'm gonna have, as a buyer, I'm gonna have expectations of what this is gonna mean. So there's a few expectations that are gonna come whether you want them or not. One is that it's gonna have a story. Another is that you are going to attract around about 8 to 10 plus family. Most of your language, I think, is okay for that, but you're gonna have to think about that because people are going to assume it can work at that level. What I'd also like to see is you have, like, this has amazing presence. I wanna see that on the table. How can I get more presence? So if your tracker is present, I want your tracker to really add something to your table because you have such great art. I need it to stay out more if it's really going to shine the way it's supposed to, because you're constantly tapping cards down too. You are eliminating, so I can't even see the art anymore. You're almost like throwing your brand away. So what I want to see is, can you give me more of that on the table so that it's not disappearing?
Sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, good stuff.
So I guess I'm gonna be the mean one today. Not really that mean. Just so I don't feel that the whimsical puns and the fun stuff or the funny stuff that's in here is actually a good marriage for the art style. I think the art style is kind of dark in some ways, and you guys can't see this, but they're like, it's a berserker, and that's a cool name. It's a cute name, but it's a mean-looking bear, guys, that is like out to get you. And your target opponent loses 8 morale. That's a lot of morale to lose, guys. So, anyways, I don't know if it's actually well married, like thematically to the art style, to the mechanics. Like if I looked at this game and I saw this game and I knew it was a card game, I would have, like Erica said, expectations that it was more strategic than it is, that it wasn't just play 3 cards and see how they kind of pan out, this little auto battler game that's going on outside of that. I would want to know a little bit more about what's in my opponent's hands so I actually can base my decisions on something. So if there weren't 120 unit cards and we only had a subset of cards and we knew these cards are out or these cards are in, and then I could make decisions based on that, I'd feel smarter. I don't think I'm going to feel smart playing this game, and that's mostly why I play a lot of games that I play, is because I like to feel clever. Because I'm not very clever, so I like to feel clever. And so when I play a game like this and I see the cards, they speak to me as like, you should be feeling clever because these are cool art, dark cards, and there's numbers on them and words. But the way that the system plays out, I don't know how much of that is in there. I'd have to play it, but just on first glance, it seems like it's very simplistic in terms of there is not a lot of strategy once you flip the cards over.
So to your point, there's 2 things that I realized we forgot to mention. There is a breakdown of each card in the rulebook, so there is a specific number of each unit. So it does sort of play into that element of this card has been played or not. I'm out. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Being play tested?
We have a
Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, and Saturday afternoon.
All right, thank you very much. Sarah Kaczynski, if you are here.
There's one on the floor.
Set up right here. You got it?
Dave, the way that you play them out is your strategy. You're like, wait, I know
So see the tape?
7, so I can play this because I know that can counteract something.
I think we're
I think like that is so good. Because I do love the players, and they just count down. I love that.
Great job.
I love when you
I need one more
Yes, you are. So I believe you are.
Everyone's going to get 7 cards here, okay?
Actually,
And then there's a secret gold card.
wait. No. Once more strategy.
Sorry that was
Sorry. Morgan still needs to actually do research. And so.
And then we also have a
Very good. I don't know. We haven't. Well, we heard the. Ian is never paying attention. FYI.
What?
So she had to go to.
I'm working on it.
So she had to go to DEFCON 5.
We're trying our best. All right. How are you guys feeling?
No, what I need is
Okay, awesome. Okay,
It's better than.
right. All right. Attention, attention. We've got a brand new game already ready to go. Secret Cardinals. Morgan here is going to take it away whenever she's ready.
Hi everyone, it is my first time here at Unpub. So the one thing I'm going to ask of all of you right now is to repeat this after me. Many ways to win, 2 ways to die. Many ways to win, 2 ways to die. So I'm thrilled to introduce to you Secret Cardinals. 2 years ago, I wrote a post on Reddit on the I Learned Today, or people are familiar with that, or Today I Learned. Yep. And from that, I made this board game. The Secret Cardinals is a social deduction game designed for 4 to 8 players where you'll navigate a web of hidden roles and ever-changing dynamics to deduce your rivals, acquire gold to cover your indulgences, and have to balance both your virtues and your vice in a way that Red Dragon Inn fans will appreciate. So think Catholic Bane with a historical twist. Inspired by the inner workings of the Pope election process and the real history of the Western Schism, Secret Cardinals lets you control the future of Europe in just 15 to 45 minutes of gameplay. So whether you're a history buff or you have just a good take that game, Secret Cardinals offers something for everyone. With some unique gameplays like Battle of Wits, where your opponents will play rock, paper, scissors to deal damage, or identity theft, where you can actually steal your secret other roles on the game so you can change your win conditions. Each player will start with a secret card, secret role card, with a history based on a real person, and try to set up for that unique win condition. Where we're a little different, we actually start with a bad guy. So we have a known villain among the group. It is a greedy Roman cardinal who takes extra gold when we first start. And this Roman cardinal has hidden allies and opponents within the game, and has heretics and a very clever member of the Medici family and a royal spy all battle together. What you'll find is that we have a game where people are trying to figure out who each other is, but we have some unique abilities within our action cards. I've pulled them out here today. So in the tradition of the Catholic faith, we give a nod to the practice of naming secret cardinals. This is where it gets the name from. So some of our players, some of our panelists may find themselves to be a secret cardinal, and they have the ability to actually win the game instantly. Some other virtues or some other roles that we have within the game change up the win conditions, and so you never quite know who is going to win in what round. There is a lot of strategy around the game, but these additional secret action cards keep the game fresh no matter how many times you play. So in a real nod to history, players will pay the church gold to reduce their vice and to gain virtue. And players who lose their virtue or gain too many vice will be eliminated from the game. So very fun, similar to Red Dragon Inn. So if you're ready to dive in a treacherous world of 15th century politics of the church and enjoy some friendly backstabbing along the way, I'm going to invite you to play this game with me at some point today, or tonight, or this weekend. Or you can check us out on Tabletop Simulator in April, or you can go to www.secretcardinals.com. Thank you. speaking.
So let me get this straight. You won this slot and you were not prepared.
Correct.
We're gonna do it.
And she decided this week that she was coming. She
Right.
had to take it yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Amazing. So tell me, is this like a combination of Red Dragon Inn and Werewolf? Is that really?
Oh, a little bit, but I was really inspired by Bang.
Okay.
I hadn't played Red Dragon Inn when I started building this game, and they were like, "Oh, you know, this would be a really good thing for you to learn about." So that's how that it became a little cleaner. Let's put it that way.
But in the rules, like so, I'm reading through the rules, and there's a lot of close your eyes, read this script, people do things. Okay, so that is happening.
Yes, very much
Okay.
so for the werewolf. To your point, to make the game even easier for folks who are dyslexic or for folks who are just a little shy like myself sometimes, I have built a video that they can go onto the website and play. So if you truly have someone who's like, this is not for me, and they have that card, it makes it a little easier for folks, a little bit more accessible.
And so, do you have any thoughts or fears maybe about this being a little bit kind of hokey toward the Catholic faith?
Yeah. So actually, I studied medieval history when I was in college, and I love history. And I've talked to a couple of people in the faith who are actual priests. They seem to be okay with it, and I've written to the Pope. I haven't heard back. But I have written to him.
That's okay, none of us has.
So that's already in the works. So hopefully he will give his blessing or not.
Excellent. And who did the art?
So I worked with this amazing illustrator 2.5 years ago from Russia. She has since not been able to communicate. But after she did the illustration for the characters, and I did the rest.
And it's taken you that 2 years to make the game? 3 years?
So I started February 2 years ago, so 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Thank you. With a couple of months off for hobbies.
Okay, so there's multiple ways to win, right? So you can have your roll card, there's a secret cardinal card. Are there other ways to win?
Yep, I'm really glad you asked that. So we have some characters that actually you can buy your way into the win if you have survived to the end of the game and you have the most gold of any player. So you can actually have multiple winners from the game. So it's not a winner take all or a last man standing. Within the instruction booklets, there is an alternative though for those who don't like the player elimination. We do offer a way for players who have been eliminated to continue playing, even if it's at a reduced status, so no one feels left out.
Okay, I was gonna ask that too, because I was gonna say, how quickly can you get somebody out in this game?
Very quickly, but you can still be a really key component to the driving force in who wins the game. So you can take your revenge. Like I am someone who does not forget.
I say overall, I guess you're walking a line here where I do hear really intriguing things. There's part of me I'd love to see them play this, but part of me also wants to see them play this to be curious to make sure is it too similar to other things? I think visually you're on the right track. It's going to detract from what you already think it's like, but then hearing it brings it back to that a little bit. So it's just making sure that it's got enough of its own thing going on. And I think then you're.
I like the flavor text a lot in the player powers. I like that you were Juliet and Medici. I like that. What's the length of time of the game? 15 to 45 minutes. Okay, and so I guess there's a lot of there's so many social deduction games. What would you say makes your game different? That's a good one. So I would say that within a lot of games, there's one striving component, which is you have to find the bad guy, or it has to be the werewolves win, right? Even if it might be witches or something else. And here we don't have just two forces really piling on each other. Each character has a driving motivation based on history. In addition to that, there's a number of ways to eliminate a player that I haven't seen in other deduction games.
because it's mostly like who can bluff the best, and this is more who can tackle a opponent quickly, and also make sure that they push forth their own winning condition.
15 to 45 minutes. Is that based on player count?
Yes, oftentimes.
That is a wide range of time, and I understand that more players do add more time. I would try to figure out if you can do something more simultaneous with this game to bring the fact that, like, in this social game, people are being able to, like, act in accordance so that, like, the game time can be roughly the same. Because I think that there's a lot of, like, huge opportunity for a game that, like, yeah, this plays in like 20 minutes with 8 players, right? Especially for a game like this. In 45 minutes, I feel a lot of people will feel a game like this will outstay its welcome.
Mm-hmm.
But if you could be like, hey, do you want to play this? It's only going to take 20 minutes and you can get 8 people in. You have a huge selling point for the game.
That's a good point.
And at 45 minutes, if you're like, hey, do you want to play this game? And it's like 45 minutes long, I'm like, no, I do not. This is absolutely not my kind of game. Like, I'm not at all would want to sit down and play a game like this. But what you've done here, what you've like created, I think there is a huge market for this type of game. Games like this come out every year, and they always tend to do pretty well. There doesn't seem to be a slowdown from the audience that does enjoy this type of game. So I would say that what you've created, even if there is some overlap with other games, I think that there's a lot of games like this that already exist in the market, continue to do well, even though there's already other games like it in the market for this specific genre. That being said, I think you've created a really cool product here. I think it's really neat, it's really interesting, it's really like I understand what my motivations are in the game. I understand that like I have my secret win condition. I also like how you've introduced the silliness into the game of like sometimes you'll just play rock, paper, scissors and somebody will get a point. I love that for this type of game. So I think what you're doing, what you're creating is really cool. I would try to figure out how to bring that player count to time in a very similar place.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Where can we find you this weekend?
I don't have a playtesting spot.
Open playtesting.
Yeah.
She wrote that night with Beneeta. It's like a social justice and it plays like 11
As long as
people,
it's
and like,
gross.
no matter how many people it is.
Oh, I see.
I will check that out. Thank you. I appreciate
So again, give anything you want.
Sure. There's also specific rules
Where's Randy?
in the game. That
Where'd
we're
he go?
going to in a bit, but you might want to see.
Oh, we don't.
And on the back are examples. So right in the front examples.
Yeah. Oh,
Sure. Okay. Good. You got those things there. Are you guys good? That's so great. Ice cream.
Yeah.
Whoa.
all right. So we've got. That was a great one, Morgan. Thank you very much. Again, round of applause. All right, and so we've got Sarah here with Italian Ivy. So thank you very much, and let's.
So I'm Sarah Joshua. This is my game, Italian Ivy. It is a tile laying and pattern building game. For one, it is told in a series of escalating chapters and played in the Theater of Italian Arts and Culture. So you are the new residential manager of the Italian Ivy Apartments, and unlike actual landlords, you really care about your residents, because when you arrange your residents in certain patterns, they will give you points, and points is good. So your goal is to use 18 building cards and 10 residents to build the building that is shown here. So this is an example of like one chapter. So on your turn, you're going to take 2 building cards. You're going to play one balcony side up. You're going to play the other balcony side down. And then in the available balcony, you will play one of your 2 residents that you drew from your bag. And then that's it. At the end of 9 rounds, all that's left is to put a door on your building and score. You will score points for all of your residents, and you will lose 3 points for each section of ivy that is on your building. So the core loop is elegant, it is approachable, and it feels very cozy to play. However, it's the residents that make this an emergent and engaging puzzle. So each one has a totally unique way of scoring that is thematic with their character. So, for example, we might have the maid, and the maid is going to score 3 points for every space that is between her balcony and the next balcony, either left or right, because she's putting out clothesline, she wants clothes to dry, you know. However, we also have the pigeons, and the pigeons are going to score 2 points for every balcony that is directly below them, and you can probably imagine why. So already there's some interesting questions there. Do I want to put the maid below the pigeons, or do I want to put the pigeons to the left or right of the maid? Because both are going to score me points. However, there are also 8 other residents in the bag to consider that have their own unique ways to score that you'll have to be thinking about. And also the ivy that you get on the cards may not line up with the vision in your head. So it's sometimes hard to position your balconies because of that second game that you're playing. So the game is broken into chapters. It's designed to be consumed episodically. That is, they can be played and replayed whenever and as many times as you want. Chapters will always be introducing something new. New building plans, new building cards, new resident, and sometimes new twists on the formula. Acts of God such as fires and bed bugs and whatever, all kinds of stuff. So anyway, there are planned 18 levels in the base game with 30 unique residents to discover. As well, working on a Transylvania expansion. It will add 12 new chapters and new spooky themed residents. And also there is a head-to-head game variant with drafting. It's not my primary concern, but it is in there. So if a publisher is into that, we can definitely talk about that more. And that's it. I'm really looking forward to feedback and questions, and thanks for letting me share.
Yep, that's a handshake. This is going to get signed. Yeah. Like this year. Like if you are going to conventions and pitching this to publishers, a publisher is going to sign this. Yeah. Like I'm just telling you right now, it will get signed. Everything you said is like win, 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 win. There's like the only thing I could pull out from what you said that is negative is like, personally, I don't want to publish solo games, but there's a lot of people that do because it is a very big market. The only thing that I could pull out as like a slight criticism is like, it's a cozy solo game, but then you're like fires and bed bugs. And I was like, you should probably find like more fun narrative things to introduce, like and take some of those out. And maybe if like some of them are specific, but like if every type of event is like kind of negative, it's going to go against that like very cozy. Because like I feel like you want this to feel like very slice of life, right? This is a win in so many categories. This is the and some of the games that we saw tonight look really good. This is a surefire winner. Like this game will get picked up and will get signed and will get published and will do well.
So I love tile lengths. This is really cool. I do have a question about gameplay. How many residents are out there? Like I know you said there was chapters, but like how many residents? Because you have to place a resident every turn.
Yeah.
So are there just 10 residents every time you play?
Yeah. So there's 30 in the game altogether. You'll have 10 that are based in the chapter that you'll put in the bag. You end up playing 9 of them because in the last round you'll have to choose between 2 and leave 1 behind. So you're going to introduce more as like chapters progress.
Okay, but you always have like 10 to choose from. So
yeah, you'll know exactly what's in the bag, you just won't know when.
Okay, cool. And is this art finalized?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions about that as well. So, what exactly is a chapter?
It's just a level, but it feels
Is it
more
setting like a premise?
So there is a little bit of flavor text, but it's really not. It's episodic. Don't think of it like think of it like a Scrubs. Like it's not telling like a big story, but there is a little bit of theme, a little bit of something to get you interested.
Okay, because I think that's what this wants, right? Is I like the idea of the city you're building. I like the idea of these, the bit of the puzzle going on. I am curious what it feels like to track 9 different things at the same time. That would be my little bit concern. Like, so number of characters actively going at the same time, especially based on, and I get that you're thinking about each one as you place it, but then I'm also always constantly adding into what was there before, right? So I wonder where the threshold is to like, how many things can I track? Like, for example, like memory is like 7 plus or minus 2.
Yeah.
You're gonna have people that can only track 5 things.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just something to be aware of. I was just like, oh, characters. I could just see a little thing there. I want story here, and that's the only thing I didn't get a little bit more of, is we're in a town, I'm in Italy, like, I love the flavor you're saying. I want a bit more of that happening, and maybe the chapters are reflecting that. We didn't get that as much. But I mean, these are more minor things. It's because I think you have I think there's a great premise here. I just want to make sure there's not those tipping points in places or where people might be like, oh, I wish this was here.
Understood. Yeah, I think 10 resonance is about the top of the scale that you can internalize. You are dish them out slowly, and you can cross things off as you go along. You can add a little pencil component. So if you really want to pay close attention.
So once it's achieved, you get it?
Yeah. So once you've played it, you can like
score it instantly.
No,
so you're not actually tracking. So you are technically actively.
You're tracking what comes out of the bag or what cards you play. If you want to like think about how things are like leading to a finish. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And I will say, because it's solo, right? Because it's solo, that is a lot to track, but I'm only tracking it, and I'm not worried about what someone else is doing, which is a whole gameplay component missing.
Right.
So it does feel like a lot of information, but I feel like solo gamers want that.
Yeah.
They might be into that. Where are my Think Fun people at? Oh, they're not here. They were disappointed. They were here, so you should see them.
Sleeping?
No, they were literally right there. So yeah.
Calling them out.
Well, because I mean, this is their thing. This is they would like this, I think. So just Sarah, if you wanna meet up with Josh.
We started talking, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the only comment I have is just that I want to understand the story behind these people. So one of the things that I liked about Rear Window was making up all the little stories about the people. This is these 2 lovers who are having a fight, and one of them might murder the other person, right? If you've ever played Rear Window, the game based on the movie, right? And I want to know that about, the maid. Why is she doing this thing, and why is this pilot here, and how are they related to each other? So I think there's a lot of opportunity for narrative and story in this game that could elevate the product into something that is beyond just the puzzle itself. That it takes on a life, right? It takes on a life through the story that you're telling through the game, and that you might even make up in your head as you're saying these 2 people are related. Oh, they're fighting. They don't want to be next to each other. And I think there's a real need for that kind of thing, but it is one of the reasons why we play games is to tell stories, right? Or we tell stories about the game tells us a story, and I think this is a ripe opportunity to really look into like narratology and how that affects gameplay. So good job.
Thank you.
And where can we find you this weekend, Sarah?
So I will be Saturday morning and afternoon.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll be right there with you.
I think it's called Wiggins.
It's going to live and die on the narrative, but like, it's such a clever piece to download.
Please, actually, yes.
I'm good. This is mine.
At the same time, like, honestly, when it comes to that kind of stuff, like, the publisher is going to hire a writer.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's just where I want to see it.
Sure. Like, even if somebody came to me with like the narrative now, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm gonna turn this over to like.
Yes. I think it's just knowing that there's intentionality.
Yeah.
All right. It's an RPG. So, thank you again, Sarah, for a great pitch. We've got Ben Goldman here. He has got a game, looks like Moonshine. We're going to let him take it away and see what happens. All right.
I'm Ben Goldman. This is Moonshine. It is a tabletop RPG set in Americana Prohibition era, so Roaring 20s. You play relatively average people in the world who are often thrust into extraordinary circumstances. So far, some of the stories